Hi friends, it's Courtney and welcome back to the Bibliostyle. If you are new here, thanks for stopping by, and for returning subscribers, thanks for hanging out with me again. So today I thought that I would do a library haul. I went to the library over the weekend because I had to return some stuff. I had some stuff on hold. I had a lot of stuff on hold apparently, and some other things that I was able to kind of do a quick lap around and pick up. So let's dive in. So I have two contemporary romances that I picked up. The first is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa, and the other is The Bromance Book Club by Lissa K. Adams. I have heard good things about both from BookTube. So I think this is like a wedding planner gets jilted at the altar, and she kind of has to team up with the best man, or the guy who was supposed to be the best man at her wedding that didn't happen. So I think it's like a lovers or enemies to lovers kind of thing. That is not really my favorite, so we'll see how I like it. I like fake romance, like fake relationship romance setups, but we'll see if I enjoy this. And this one is about a guy who he's a professional baseball player, and he is sort of having trouble in his marriage, and so he joins a book club, and so there are all these really like alpha men who are reading romance novels as a way to help them with their relationships. So that has a really interesting premise. So yeah, we'll see how those go. And then, interestingly enough, I picked up this beast, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I read Anna K in June, I believe it was, and Anna K is a YA retelling of, a reimagining, I guess, of Anna Karenina, and I loved that book so much. I believe I gave it 5 stars, but I'd never read the source material. I think when we were supposed to read this in high school, and this is going to completely date me, I just read the Cliff's Notes version of it. So if you're old, you probably know what Cliff's Notes are. I don't think they're a thing that exists anymore because of the internet, but yeah, back in the 80s, 80s and 90s, when I went to high school in the late 80s, they sold like little, basically they were like recaps chapter by chapter with like themes and all of that stuff of all the stuff we were supposed to be reading in school. And so I think I read that instead of reading the book. Either that or reading the book traumatized me so much that I don't remember. But I know this was assigned, it could have been summer reading, I'm not sure, but yeah, I never read it. I was inspired by reading Anna K to read it. We will see how long it takes me to get through this. Thankfully, my library, I believe you can renew books up to 25 times as long as they're not on hold for anyone else. So we'll see how far I make it in that. The other things I picked up are some BookTube inspired picks. The first one is The House in the Cerulean Sea. It is being talked about a lot on BookTube right now. The little blurb on the back says 1984 meets the Umbrella Academy with a pinch of Douglas Adams thrown in. quirk and charm give way to a serious exploration of the dangers of complacency in this delightful, thought-provoking Orwellian fantasy. This tale of found family is hopeful to its core. TJ Klune is a master storyteller. I have never read any TJ Klune, but I decided to pick this up, and there wasn't. I think some of these are just published, and because I had heard about them kind of a few months back, and when people were starting to, I guess, talk about them from reading the ARCs maybe, that I had put this on my holds list, so I didn't have to wait for very long because I requested it before it was published or released, I guess. The other one is Burn Our Bodies Down. This is a YA. I'm not super sure what it's about, but I know people are talking about it a lot, and it's about, I don't know, a girl. She lives with her mother. They don't really have any family, so she doesn't have a history, and she kind of wants to know where she came from, so she finds a photo, and it sort of points her where she needs to go, and once she gets there, you know, will she discover the reasons that her mother cut all ties. I know that people really liked Wilder Girls by this author. I actually tried, I didn't have the book, I had the audiobook from the library, and tried listening to it, and it wasn't my like favorite, so I didn't finish it. Not because I didn't, well, I didn't get very far in it, I should say. I just didn't like the narrator's voice. So is that like a thing? I don't know. I feel like audiobooks are kind of a toss-up for me, because if I don't like the person who's reading it, then I don't connect with it. So I ended up like returning it before it was even due. The other one is Slay. This is also a YA about a like role-playing multiplayer video game called Slay. And this teenage girl is the developer of it, I guess. And there's some stuff that happens, I guess, like within the world of the video game that kind of goes real life, and causes some things to happen. Yeah, so it says Slay is labeled a racist, exclusionist, violent hub for thugs and criminals. Yeah, she faces potentially being sued for anti-white discrimination, and an anonymous troll infiltrates the game, threatening to harass all the players and take over. So this sounds really interesting. Everyone who's talked about it has loved it. I even have like some like not booktube friends who have read it and really liked it as well. The other one that I picked up finally is Station 11. I have been on the wait list for this forever, and it, I believe, won an award, and it's like well loved, and I can't wait to read it. And then the other one that I heard about on booktube, and I'm hoping that it's not, like, people have described it as horror, and that's not my thing. So I'm hoping that it's not too much for me. Like, in August I read Mexican Gothic, and I really, really loved that book, and technically it was classified as horror as well, but it wasn't like frightening in that way. So I'm hoping this is more on like the Mexican Gothic side versus like the like Carrie side of things, because I don't like that sort of stuff. Then I also have, I picked up Saving Ruby King, and this is about a girl from the south side of Chicago. Her mother is killed The police dismiss it as another act of violence. But the loss of her mother leaves her in a not great situation with a violent father. She has a friend who is really, I guess, trying to help, trying to stay connected. Her friend Layla, her father, who is the pastor of their church, doesn't want Layla around Ruby. And it just says, in a relentless quest to save Ruby, Layla uncovers the murky loyalties and dangerous secrets that have bound their families together for generations. Only by facing this legacy of trauma head-on will Ruby be able to break free. So this sounds really good. I also downloaded the audiobook for this as well, so that I can listen while I'm doing stuff around the house. I also got Happy and You Know It by Laura Hankin. This says a dark, witty page-turner about a struggling young musician who takes a job singing for a playgroup of overprivileged babies and their effortless cool moms, only to find herself pulled into their glamorous lives and dangerous secrets. So it says it's filled with humor and shocking twists. A brilliant take on motherhood, exposing it as yet another way for society to pass judgment on women, while also exploring the baffling magnetism of curated social media lives that are designed to make us feel unworthy. Which, whoa, if that doesn't hit home, I don't know what does. And this is another, I guess, thriller maybe. So there are two families, they take a cruise together for vacation, and there are, I guess, 4 adults and 4 children, ages 6 to 11, and something happens, and the children get separated from the parents somehow, and we get to hear the perspective of both the adults and the children. And it says, parents accustomed to security and control turn on one another and blame themselves, while the seemingly helpless children discover resources they never knew they possessed. Do Not Become Alarmed is a story about the protective force of innocence and the limits of parental power, and an insightful look at privileged illusions of safety. So that sounds really interesting. And let's see, I picked up another YA called The Nowhere Girls. And I guess this really is about 3 girls who come together. One of the girls is new to town, and she discovers that the people who used to live in their house basically are run out of town because their daughter accuses the popular boys at their school of a gang rape. So this new girl comes together with her 2 friends, and they are trying to get justice for this girl who had to leave town. So they form an anonymous group of girls to resist the sexist culture at their school, which includes boycotting sex of any kind with the male students. As the Nowhere Girls grow in number, their movement becomes about more than sex and transforms the lives of its members, their school, and the entire community. So, yeah, we're always down to take down the patriarchy. And then this sort of just grabbed my eye. It's a 7-day book. So our library has quick reads where you can only check them out for 7 days, and you have to return them usually. I think it's 21 days or something like that. So this is another like mystery thriller. There's a girl, Nina is the main character. She has a liberal arts degree from a fancy school, but apparently something happens and she can't get a job. So she and her boyfriend start stealing from rich kids in LA. Their paths cross with a young heiress, Vanessa, And so, yeah, I guess I'm not sure. It says Nina, Vanessa, and Lachlan's paths collide on the cold shores of Lake Tahoe, where their intertwined lives give way to a winter of aspiration and desire, duplicity and revenge. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And then I picked up Her Deadly Secrets by Laura Griffin. She has, I started listening to another book by her called Untraceable, which is a series that follows, I think it's a private detective. But I don't hate the book, but I'm not enjoying the person who's narrating it either. And so before I just kind of write off this author, I decided to pick up a physical copy of one of her books to kind of see if it was something that I would be interested in. So this follows a different private investigator from the one that I'm currently listening to, Kira Vance, and it just says that she delivers a report to her top client when suddenly everything goes sideways and the meeting ends in a bloodbath. 24 hours later, the police have no suspect, but someone is now after her. So she essentially is trying to piece everything together. So we'll see how that turns out. And then I managed to pick this up, which I believe just came out in the last week or so. This is by When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. It is her first thriller. I have read 2 of her romance novels and I really like them and like her as an author. So this is about a young woman who lives in Brooklyn. There's some gentrification happening in her neighborhood, and to combat that, it says she has a walking tour of the neighborhood, and one of her new neighbors, I guess, becomes an assistant on her tour, and it just says their deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other or themselves long enough to find out before they too disappear? So that sounds really interesting. It has a pretty good blurb. It's a psychological thriller, and I have really been in that mood. I read 2, one was a mystery and one was a thriller, I think last week maybe. So I'm kind of like in that mystery mode. And I just think, the nights are getting cooler, maybe the temperatures are going to break, and I think it's just that time of year where reading mystery kind of appeals to me a lot. So this is what I have picked up from the library. Hopefully I have time to get through all of them before I have to return them, but we will see how it goes. If you have picked up anything interesting from your library, let me know, or if you've read anything interesting that you want to recommend, especially like in the thrillery, like mystery vein, leave me a comment down below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos from me, then don't forget to subscribe. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.